For my independent reading project, I read The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, which was published in 1992. The poem has 5 sections, each with a myriad of speakers, styles, languages, and excerpts from other works. Eliot's background is crucial to deciphering the poem. After attending many schools and writing a lot, Eliot decided to move to England for a majority of his lifetime. Eliot's first marriage was to Vivian Highwood, and she suffered from many health issues, and they spent a lot of time apart. And during the time that they were married, Eliot wrote The Wasteland, and a lot of his inspiration came from his bad marriage with Vivian. Eliot once said, "To her, the marriage brought no happiness. To me, it brought the state of mind out of which came the wasteland." In the poem, Eliot stresses the theme that romance is dead and sex is corrupted, and I think these themes reflect Eliot's marriage to Vivian. Additionally, Eliot was supposedly diagnosed with nervous disorder around the time he wrote The Wasteland, which would add to the franticness and fear illuminated in the poem. During the time which the poem was written, World War I had just ended, and many Americans were facing post-war depression and questioning the fate of the world. Both Eliot's background and the time period which the poem was written clearly influenced the piece. The first section of the poem has 4 speakers, and each speaker is used to capture the essence that the simple world is gone and romance has died. In the song I wrote, the first verse has 4 lines, and each line depicts the speaker's feelings. For example, the first line in my song is, "I remember the simple things like going sledding." And in the poem, a German woman is reflecting back on the times when her life was easy and she could do simple things to appease her, like going sledding. Section 2 demonstrates the gap in social classes, but Eliot points out that wealth is indifferent, and that regardless of your wealth or rank, all love is fading. Eliot uses 2 instances that exemplify the corruption of sex and regeneration. The third section features Tiresias, a blind prophet in Greek mythology. Although Tiresias is blind, he claims to have the ability to see the future, and he has to see the horrible events which will unfold. I think that Eliot makes use of Tiresias to demonstrate that we cannot escape earthly matters, which, in Eliot's mind, are inevitable. The fourth section, which is the shortest section, is about a man drowning. In literature, water is typically a symbol of cleansing and rebirth, but Eliot believes that the sea is pure nothingness. The man's short death demonstrates that Eliot believes that after death, you are nothing, just useless. Eliot uses this section to reaffirm that death triumphs all in the end. The final section of the poem shows a scene of a destroyed city with suffering people, and then thunder rolls in to finalize the ending. There is one flash of lightning in the darkness, perhaps a flash of truth. And in my song, I wrote, "The thunder rolls in, the end has begun, a flash of the truth, and the rain has won." However, in the end of the poem, Eliot never says if it rains or not, but I feel like Eliot left the end of the poem up to anyone's interpretation, and I personally would think that it would rain, and so that's why in the last line of my song I wrote, "The rain has won." The Wasteland is such a complex piece of literature, and it is open to many different interpretations. Eliot used such an elaborate amount of quotations from all different time periods and authors, and a variety of different poetic styles. This piece of work can be viewed from so many different lenses that it's almost impossible to reach a conclusion about the poem. I think that when Eliot wrote The Wasteland, he was giving up on life, and this poem was the dumping place for all his fears and doubts. Eliot is saying that all the world has left to offer is us, the human race, but we no longer serve ourselves any good. So what is the point of fighting when we can simply surrender to the greater force? I think the poem is a reflection of the time period and of Eliot's personal life, and I enjoyed seeing all the speakers and settings come together to make Eliot's major point, that the end is inevitable. The Wasteland is an important piece of American literature because it was one of the first modernist pieces of its time, and it really depicted the post-war depression not only Eliot and America faced, but what the world was facing. The Wasteland shares some similarities with Eliot's other poem, The Love Song of Alfred J. Prufrock. However, it contrasts with his other work, four quartets because his religion changed over the period of his lifetime and it heavily influenced his writing style. I would recommend this poem to anyone interested in Arthurian tales, Buddha, or anyone interested in learning more about the post-war depression from World War I. However, it is a very depressing poem, so I must warn you of that. Thank you for watching and listening to my project, and if you have any questions or comments, please post them below. Thank you.